with a company that treats my listeners right.
Speaking of people resting their heads on pillows made of concrete, Katie Wilson has an idea. It's been tried before. It's failed before. But she has an idea. What is her brilliant idea? Her brilliant idea is a homeless encampment that is a safe lot for RVs. I don't know how many times I can debunk that these things actually work, but let's do it one more time. Back in 2018, I was in California, and I was starting to get involved in the political process, and I said, let me go see some of these RV encampments, some of these safe lots that they have down in California. I was there anyway with my family on vacation, and I go down there to see these RV lots in San Diego because I was told San Diego does it right. San Diego knows exactly how to do these RV lots. We got it covered. So I go to check them out. The first one I go to is a church. It's a church. And there's a bunch of cars in the parking lot. And if you have to use the bathroom, you run into the church. And there's some person sitting there behind a folding table. And I see a little boy who's 7, 8 years old run into the church, run back to the family minivan, which is packed filled with stuff. And I say to the person who's at the little folding table, I said, what's going on there? Why is that? How are you helping this kid? And they said, well, the kid grew up. That's his house. That's the only home he's ever known. I said, 7 years that kid's been living in the van and you think this program is successful? And they said, well, that's what we do. We keep them safe here in the lot. I said, how do you keep them safe? It's a church parking lot. There's no fencing. There's no security. You just offer them bathrooms. Oh, well, we have showers too. Wow. Bravo. Fantastic. You guys are really doing your jobs. 3 locations I visited. That was the first one. Second one I go to. The second one I go to looks like a giant FEMA tent. Giant FEMA tent. And apparently inside, and they wouldn't let me in, inside they have resources for whatever you need. Outside, the entire surrounding area is destroyed. Why? Because the drug addicts, the drug dealers, everybody else comes to that area knowing that's where they have their customers, knowing that's where the people who want to buy their product are. So they set up shop outside the giant homeless encampment. And the RVs that are not allowed in the safe lot, they just park outside because they know they can walk up there and get whatever medical supplies they want, whatever harm reduction supplies they want. They know they can get any of that stuff to shoot up, no problem whatsoever. Third one I went to was actually being run by a Jewish organization. And the third one, what was happening was it seemed like it was cleaner than the other ones, but still people living in their cars. These things do not work. They don't. You know how you get people off the streets? You get them treatment. You get them mental health support. You put the criminals in jail. And then you get somebody so they can sustain their lives on their own, be responsible for their lives through jobs. Well, now what are we talking about? An empty lot in an industrial section of West Seattle could become a combined RV-safe parking lot and tiny home village under a new proposal now in the early stages of review, according to Como News. Quote, the tiny houses are actually the key to making the RV safe parking work, said Sharon Lee, the executive director of the Low Income Housing Institute, which will operate the site. Okay, so the Low Income Housing Institute, you guys still do low barrier encampments? Low barrier means low barrier to entry. So that means you can bring in your drugs. So that means you can bring in your criminal record. So that means nobody checks ID whatsoever. That means you can bring your pets. That means you can bring your kids into that horrible, horrible environment. You think this is the key to success. So that means you're going to let the people continue doing drugs now on our taxpayer dime inside your safe lot. What sense does that make at all? What sense does this make at all? None. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing time and time again, expecting different results. And that's exactly what we're doing. So now you want to set this up. Great. Wonderful. Fantastic. Katie Wilson gives her big State of the City speech today. And it's all about affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing, which shows me she has no idea what she's doing. You know, somebody was talking about how successful it was that Katie Wilson waited a few weeks and then cleared the homeless encampment in Ballard. Why'd she wait a few weeks? She was trying to get a better handle on the situation, and somebody called it the most successful encampment clearing ever. Ever. Because X amount of people accepted services. Yeah, there's one little problem with that. Everybody else went a couple blocks away and set up the exact same encampment, just in a different place. And here we go again. If the people stay on the streets, it's not successful. If you have people living on the streets, it's not successful. My flight had engine trouble last night coming back to SeaTac from LAX. We landed at 1, 2 in the morning. So I had to go get a very serious, for those of you watching on the live stream today, got a very ginormous cup of coffee sitting here with 4 espresso shots in it. That is right. That is how jacked up I am today. You want to know why I'm in such a mood? 4 espresso shots in my hot chocolate. That's what I did. I'm a giant child. That is what this is. This is very bad for my waistline. We got to get a weight loss sponsor around here because, you know, then I can fix my waistline. Anyway, as I'm walking to the Starbucks at the Space Needle today, right outside Climate Pledge Arena, there are 2 homeless people sleeping under tarps. There's a tent a block away, and there's a whole bunch of homeless people inside the Armory at Seattle Center, which is supposed to be the touristy area. This is what we take as normal around here. Katie Wilson, State of the City. Here, I'm going to predict it. I didn't even pull the audio yet today because she wasn't done speaking yet when I went on air. Let me guess, because I got a pre-copy of her speech. Let me guess what she spoke about. Yay, Sonics. Oh, wait. Sonics aren't back yet, are they? Seahawks. I meant the Seahawks. They're not the Mariners, right? Right. Yay, Seahawks. I had a lot to do with that. Really, a lot to do with that. And we're going to fix homelessness by taxing all y'all and then spending it on dumb things like the tiny homes. If you put people in little shacks, that's not fixing the problem. And yet this is what Katie Wilson wants. This is her MO. This is what she's going to do. And the left will just mockingbird media this and go, oh, isn't she wonderful? Oh, isn't she great? Isn't she fantastic? No, she's not. Seriously, the most fake thing I ever saw was Bob Ferguson and Katie Wilson and Gurmay Zahalai walking in the parade for the Seahawks. Great. So the kids who probably got shoved into lockers and wedgied, maybe swirlies even, had a lot to do with the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. The AV Club really helped. Yeah, the Towel Boy really helped them win the Super Bowl. But there they are walking. What did they have to do with it? These may be the ones who tax the Seahawks so much that they leave town. That's the state of our city. That's the state of our city approach. When we come back, my friends, looks like a little drama is heating up in the presidential race of 2028 on the Republican side. A lot of people are asking for one challenger versus another. I want to hear what you think. We'll discuss that plus a whole lot more when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Over the weekend, I saw Marco Rubio's name trending on social media, and I just assumed he got a new job. I assumed somebody else got fired, or there was another good meme of Marco Rubio, and I got really, really excited. Turned out he was speaking at this international security conference in Munich, Germany. And Marco Rubio gave one of the best political speeches I have ever heard in my entire lifetime, in my entire life. In fact, I go, that's the next Ronald Reagan. But I really hope he's the kind of guy, and from everybody I know who met him, he actually is. And I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting with him. I was talking with his team today. I might actually get to meet him for America's 250th if I get a chance to go to D.C. But he gave this amazing speech in Munich. Now, before we talk about Marco Rubio's amazing speech, I want to show you who else thought they were representing America at this Munich security conference. AOC was there. And AOC sounds like her brain broke when she was asked a very simple question. Now, here's what I say. If you want me to speak on a topic, I should really prepare. I should really know about the topic. You're going to an international security conference. Your BS TikTok nonsense don't work here when you get real questions. This is AOC's brain breaking in real time.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
I have no idea what she just said. Really, no idea.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
The Democrats want AOC to be president. The Democrats want AOC to be president. Just think about that for a second. Then here comes an actual adult like Marco Rubio. This is a long segment of a 22-minute speech. I'm not playing 22 minutes of it. I'm playing the last 4 minutes of it. Because this made me say, yes, 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 more of this. Inject it into my veins. This is one of the best political speeches I've ever heard. Talking about why we want a strong Europe. Why President Trump pushes around Europe a little bit. This was magnificent. Give a listen.
For 5 centuries, before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe. But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest looked like it would soon follow. The great Western empires had entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings that would transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map in the years to come. Against that backdrop, then as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you. And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. The alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. One that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life. And one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts. And above all, an alliance based on the recognition that we, the West, have inherited together. What we have inherited together is something that is unique and distinctive and irreplaceable. Because this, after all, is the very foundation of the transatlantic bond.
Boom! What an incredible 4 minutes of politics. This is a guy who very clearly lays out exactly why it's in America's interest for Europe to be strong, so they don't have to call us every 5 minutes to come defend them. But in addition to that, it's in everybody's best interests. They're our parent. We're their child. We want our parent to be strong as well. And we don't want them to bully us around all the time. We're independent now. Leave us alone. What an eloquent way of stating the American position. There are too few adults in politics anymore. There's a lot more people just worried about getting the clicks. But now here's something interesting. Saw a lot of people talking about Marco Rubio for president over the weekend. So I got a question for everybody. Would you want to see Marco Rubio at the top of the ticket? Would you want to see J.D. Vance at the top of the ticket? Is there somebody else in the Republican Party you want to see running? Over here on the text line, a lot of you are saying they want AOC running for the Democrats because she'll be so easy to beat. Very clever, guys. Very, very clever. Very good. But who would you want at the top of the Republican ticket? Marco Rubio? J.D. Vance? Somebody else? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss, including a different kind of campaign, one to normalize pedophilia here in Seattle. I wish I was making this up. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So it was Valentine's Day over the weekend. We don't do Valentine's Day in the Hoffman house, not one of our holidays. There's actually a Jewish Valentine's Day during the summer called Tu B'Av. We started sort of doing that. My wife's birthday is around Valentine's Day, so she gets to go out for Valentine's Day anyway every year, and her birthday. Always do something nice. This year, we went to the, I bought her a massage over at the, what's the place? The Renton Hyatt, right there on the water, the waterfront one where that Future 42 had the conference. Then I met her there for drinks afterwards. Beautiful bar, beautiful scenery, overlooking everything. It was lovely. Lovely. I was pretty impressed with myself. That was nice. Okay. But other people celebrate Valentine's Day differently. You remember the People's Harm Reduction Alliance? Let's be clear about what harm reduction is, because Democrats are so good with the verbiage. Harm reduction means here's some foil, here's a needle, go kill yourself with drugs. Here you go. We're going to reduce the harm by making it easier for you to do drugs. They say it brings down HIV rates. It doesn't. It's not true. None of it. But Andrea Suarez, our friend from We Heart Seattle, posted this. She posted the Valentines that the People's Harm Reduction Alliance came up with. They actually posted these. I didn't believe in love, but you foiled my plans. And it's on the backdrop of tinfoil and a straw. You're a bevel up above the rest with a picture of a hypodermic needle. You took a pizzo out of my heart with a pipe. You're cracked up to be. Yeah, these are their Valentines that the People's Harm Reduction Alliance put out. Oh, here's another one. Cupid. Instead of shooting an arrow, he's shooting a hypodermic needle. It says, let's give this a shot. Nar can't get you off my mind. This is what they put out, for real. Andrea Suarez wrote, we lost 30,000 souls to death by overdose in the state of Washington over the last 13 years. And tax-funded People's Harm Reduction Alliance thinks it's cute to make Valentines normalizing illegal drug use and paraphernalia. Pipes and foil are also paid for by King County Public Health. King County Council to fund this program. When I was at the Roanoke conference, Andrea had her booth set up right next to mine where the KVI booth was. She brought with her one of those bags from King County Public Health, the one that has Martin Luther King Jr.'s picture right there on the front of it as the symbol of King County. And inside it is all the stuff you could need to kill yourself with drugs. Yes, I'm sure Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is so proud of how his likeness is being used to give out drugs to addicts so they can kill themselves here in Washington. This is not a joke, by the way. This is stuff they actually posted. People's Harm Reduction Alliance. You know that these guys used to post videos about how to inject yourself? There's something crazy that when they were talking about opening injection sites, heroin injection sites, legalized drug dens, here in Seattle, in King County, that on their site, it said that it would be open to pregnant women. It would be open to minors. It would be open to first-time drug users. Oh, want to get high and never done it before? Come to us. We'll show you the ropes. We're like the older crackhead brother you never had. We will help you out. You kidding me with this nonsense? This is what your tax dollars are paying for. A little bit worse than that is this little thing we saw here. This is from our friend Katie Daviscourt over at the Post Millennial. A controversial activist group, Beyond the Plus, has been campaigning in Seattle to promote the acceptance of pedophiles, referring to adults who are sexually attracted to children as minor attracted persons, otherwise known as MAPs. The group's goal is to persuade individuals that pedophilia is a sexual orientation and it is normal for adults to be sexually attracted to kids. This as they're all yelling and screaming about the Epstein files. Beyond the Plus, led by trans-identifying male Ali Kotetsu, has been setting up bi-monthly informational booths at Callie Anderson Park in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood, according to Redux. The organization advocates for beings who are romantically or sexually attracted to beings who are below the age of 18. It was only a matter of time. We knew this was coming. According to its website, the group describes minor attraction as a sexual orientation similar to heterosexuality and homosexuality and claims that MAPs are among the world's first marginalized people. Quote, a number of MAPs, usually ones who are intersectional and with other queer identities, consider age-based attractions to be other, less recognized types of orientation. Importantly, this only refers to attractions without implying harmful or illegal actions. Guess what? It's all illegal. It's all illegal. If you're an 18-year-old and you're dating a 15-year-old because you're a senior and she's a freshman, guess what? That is illegal. Most maps are law-abiding and don't want to harm anyone more than non-maps do. Most? What? However, due to intense social stigma, the overwhelming majority of these maps remain closeted and are never known to be maps unless involuntarily outed. Because they committed a crime? This lack of visibility is what allows harmful misconceptions and stereotypes to persist. Oh, you're worried about the stereotypes and the misconceptions, not the kids they're abusing. Photos shared by Redux show this person, who also identifies as Japanese despite being a white male, sitting at the group's information booth with another trans-identifying male colleague. Rainbow-colored pamphlets can be observed on the table, as well as LGBTQ+ buttons that symbolize various paraphilias such as pedophilia, necrophilia, and, that's sadomasochism. Crazy stuff here. Crazy stuff. This is the stuff they are giving out at Cal Anderson Park. Literally, the picture is taken next to the soccer field. Well, it's got to be fun for those kids. Mommy, what's that? What's Ari Hoffman talking about on the radio? Can't talk about it right now. Talk about it right now. We'll talk about it later. You'll know when you're older. Holy cow. This is what's going on in our city, my friends. Yes, we have totally lost our way. By the way, speaking of people who have lost their way, when we come back, my friends, Democrats are proving that the income tax that they just passed is for everybody. But at the same time, they're a little concerned some of you might leave the state. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Nick Shirley's latest video shows serious problems with voting in California, and I bet you the exact same thing is happening here. However, before we get to any of that, I asked you a question in the last segment, is that if you would want J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio being the top of the ticket in 2028. And you know what's fascinating to me? I didn't get anybody suggesting anybody else. That's a form of unity, my friends. It really, really is. I'll say this, and I know this may tick off some people in the audience, but I actually backed Marco Rubio in 2016 before I was involved in all this. I've always liked Marco Rubio. I think he's a great senator. It's proven what a great Secretary of State he is and every other job that he has under the sun. And in addition to that, I didn't realize this Donald Trump thing was for real. I thought he was going to come out with an announcement afterwards saying that he was promoting a new reality show called Trumping America. That's what I thought the election was going to be about. And at the time, Donald Trump, he's a fixture in New York City. He's a character. He's iconic, but he's a character and icon. I didn't think the whole thing was for real. He won me over by the time he ran in 2020. Of course, I supported him in 2024 once Ron DeSantis dropped out. Heading into 2028, I think a lot of people, you're going to have this choice between Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance. I don't really think anybody else in the Republican world has a real shot at it. And I think that a lot of people are going to say, look, just have Marco as the VP, have J.D. Vance as the president because he's there right now, because no way J.D. Vance is going to agree to be vice president again under somebody else, even though I think that's actually would have been better. I like J.D. Vance just fine. I think he's eloquent. I think he's smart. I think it's just a timing issue. I really think that's what it is, just a timing issue. A lot of people here, this one. Chris in Federal Way says Trump Vance in 2028. That's great, but he says Rubio Vance in 2028. This one here from Ingrid. My vote would be for Marco Rubio as the Republican candidate over J.D. Vance. Mark says Vance for president, Rubio for VP, then Rubio president after 8 years of Vance. Mark from Edgewood. That's very optimistic, Mark. I do like your optimism. This one here, John in Lakewood, says Rubio is the next logical permutation of the Trump presidency. Vance as VP complements it. Here from the 360, I would prefer Marco because that's who Brandy wants? Okay, dude. I give recommendations too. I mean, I understand that. I appreciate that. But who do you want? Personally, I'm not sure which one would be better, the 12th Man for Life says. I just want them to be in charge for the next 16 years after Trump. This one here, 206, clearly and unequivocally, Marco Rubio for president, J.D. Vance is still wet behind the ears. This one, Chris is the only one who says somebody else. I'd like to see a Republican ticket with Glenn Youngkin at the top of the ticket and Marco Rubio as VP. I don't think that's going to happen. Robin Lakewood says J.D. Rubio, DeSantis is Secretary of War. You know, DeSantis is out of office in, 2 years? This year or next year, I think it is, because he's termed out. I would love to see him in the Trump administration because whatever job you give him, that guy's going to be amazing at it. Oh, I know. Replace Noam with DeSantis. Oh, that'd be a lot of fun. The left will absolutely lose their minds because he'll have a whole new way to deport people. They're all going to Martha's Vineyard. we'll send every illegal alien up to Martha's Vineyard. That's the plan, right? That'll work? All right, all kidding aside, yesterday, Democrats did something very, very bad. Washington Senate Democrats passed Senate Bill 6346, approving a 9.9% tax on income above $1 million, and rejected amendments that aimed at limiting the proposal to just millionaires and making it a referendum, making it subject to a referendum, so that way people didn't have to do an initiative. So, Democrats, let me just explain this to everybody what the Democrats did. There was an amendment that was offered that said, okay, you guys say this is a tax that's just going to be on millionaires, and you're calling us Republicans liars because we're telling you you're going to expand it to everybody in Washington state. Then how about an amendment that it'll just be for millionaires and nobody else? Well, guess what? Democrats rejected it. So, tell me you're going to tax all of us here in Washington state without telling me you're going to tax all of us here in Washington state. Amendment 696, which backers said would ensure the tax applies only to millionaires, failed before final passage. More than 80,000 people signed in the bill, with over 75% registering opposed to it. That's over 60,000 people, a level critics describe as unprecedented for public sign-ins. Critics point to past fiscal controversies, including a previously reported $15 billion surplus, which they managed to squander through reckless spending, missing COVID relief funds. Remember that $1 billion that Nigerian scammers stole from the Washington State Unemployment Fund because Jay Inslee opened an email that said he had inherited all this money from a Nigerian prince? Unemployment fraud losses, costly state technology overruns, as evidence that the state should focus on spending discipline rather than new taxes. Let's not forget self-service stations, that they get money for art studios from the arts department. Let's not forget trans surgeries for felons. Let's not forget that kind of stuff they're spending the money on. At the same time, Democratic lawmakers have reduced funding in Medicaid, child care, and domestic violence prevention programs while passing the largest tax increases in state history and raising fees on everything from Discover passes to hunting and fishing licenses. Oh, and quitting smoking. Oh, and taking up smoking. Senate Bill 6346 also raises legal questions. Initiative 2111, signed by more than 450,000 people and approved by the legislature 2 years ago, prohibits a statewide income tax. Also, we voted against it, 9, 11 times? I lose track of how many times we voted against this thing. Opponents argue the new measure conflicts with both the initiative and Washington's constitutional requirement for tax uniformity. Because here in Washington, when people say an income tax is illegal, you're not technically right. Technically, if they want to apply an income tax, it has to be at every single level. You can't say it's just for millionaires. So probably one of the reasons they shot down the amendment is because the court, their buddies on the Washington State Supreme Court, would have a lot harder time holding it up if it literally says, well, this is just for millionaires. If they say, well, it's open to everybody, we're just starting with the millionaires, then guess what? It's a uniform tax. It's a uniform tax. Senator Chris Gilden said in a statement, this income tax bill clearly goes against our state constitution as well as 90-plus years of legal precedent. The Democrats passed it anyway. If the supporters were truly committed to limiting this tax to high earners, they would propose changing the state constitution. By the way, they didn't have enough votes to actually change the state constitution. That requires a few more votes than they had. Why don't they just go ahead and do that? Oh, wait, because they don't have the votes for that. Gilden added that the bill could be converted into a universal income tax by changing just a few words. And the largest tax increase in our state's history at a time when Washington is already bringing in record revenue. Oh, and it's also the least affordable it's ever been. During the debate, Republicans also sought to preserve voters' ability to challenge the measure through referendum. That amendment was rejected. Senator Nikki Torres, Republican of Pasco, Washingtonians deserve a clear, direct vote on something this important and expensive. The majority rejected our amendment. It's undemocratic how they are shutting the public out. Torres also questioned whether the proposal would address affordability concerns. This tax is unnecessary. Washingtonians need to know this will not make life more affordable next year or the year after. It does nothing to reduce regressive taxes that hit working families the hardest. You know my favorite thing about this? It goes into effect in 2029. Those of you who want to move next year, you got 3 or 4 years before this thing actually kicks in, never mind the court challenges. Why does it not go into effect until 2029? Because Bob Ferguson wants to run for office in 2028 and doesn't want to lose because he passed the income tax. That's literally why. They're going to the next election cycle. How more transparent can you be? Oh, but we need it right now to fix our budget problems right now. Then how come it's not kicking in until 2029? You guys are completely full of it. I asked a question on social media last night, and the answers were fascinating to me. I gave a choice. If the Democrats sign into law their income tax, will you stay and fight? Will you leave? Or can you not leave? Are you stuck here? Like, for example, I love Washington State. I moved here to get away from this insanity in New York. So, for example, when I first moved here, no income tax, property taxes were a quarter of what I would be paying. So we had a choice between New Jersey and Seattle. I'm from New York. The worst thing for a New Yorker is moving to New Jersey. You have to get a new driver's license, and then there's just shame covered on you. It's kind of like the beef between Seattle and Tacoma. That's New York and New Jersey. I hate when New Jersey people claim they're from New York. You're not from New York. Flush yourselves back down that nasty, nasty pipe called the Holland Tunnel. Come out the other side, that sewer pipe called the Holland Tunnel. It is not New York. It is New Jersey. Okay, now that we're clear on that. So I did not want to live in New Jersey. And also I came out here and I took a walk with my not yet then wife around Seward Park, and I go, this place is gorgeous. This place is beautiful. I saw that my kids could have a great life here. I saw that I could be prosperous here and have a job in real estate. And yet, one by one, the government took away all these things. My property taxes are now more expensive than they would be if I lived in New York. And I live in the same house. That's just how much they've jacked them up over time. They're now talking about getting rid of the no income tax status of our state. We're one of the few remaining with it. We already have people moving out of town. The tech sector is crumbling. They're laying off people left and right. What, 20,000 jobs in since the beginning of the year? How many more is coming? Schools aren't doing so well. Look at the public schools around here. The private schools aren't doing so hot either because so many people are actually moving out of state. So you look around at what our state is. This is still beautiful? Yes. I literally am looking out over Elliott Bay right now. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous out there. But it's getting harder and harder to come up with reasons for stay for so many people. My family's here. My wife's family is here. My job is here. I'm not going anywhere. But for a lot of other people, they're going, how quickly can I get out of here? So I want to know about you. Do you plan to stay and fight? Are you stuck here like other people? Or are you just saying, nope, that's it. If the income tax goes in, I'm out of here. I am out of here. Now, what's fascinating to me is the Democrats passed all these taxes on corporations. And now it seems like they're sort of backtracking from some of these taxes. Oh, do you mean that a lot of the people who run these corporations moved? Do you mean that a lot of these companies moved out of Washington state and you're worried about what's happening with all the layoffs because of your taxes? Como News has a story for us.
Tonight on Olympia Watch, Senate Democrats are acknowledging an increased estate tax may have been a mistake. They're voting to unwind legislation to lower the number as part of a package of bills that includes a new millionaire's tax. KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels talked to Senate Democrats about this today and joins us live in Seattle with more. Chris.
Yeah, Molly, this may be the first acknowledgement from Senate Democrats that a new tax is causing people to move out of state, particularly the estate tax, which was jacked up to as high as 35% for some people here in Washington state, the highest in the country. And now Senate Democrats are looking quietly to unwind it. Have recent actions in Olympia prompted the wealthiest Washingtonians to move out of state?
We do have a lot of anecdotal evidence that people are making a decision to re-domicile, and I think it's worth taking that seriously.
That's one reason why Senate Majority Leader Jamie Peterson of Seattle is backing Senate Bill 6347 to unwind the legislative action of just last year to increase the estate tax to as much as 35%, by far the largest in the country, and reduce it back down to a max of 20%.
We don't feel like there was enough stakeholder work that went into that process.
Max Martin is with the Association of Washington Business.
You're going after some of the most mobile taxpayers you can possibly think of, which could then push people out of the state at a time when we desperately need the revenue.
An AWB survey says more than half of members are considering moving out of state because of the tax burden and putting business expansion plans on hold here. But Peterson also acknowledges he's making a deal.
As part of our conversations with stakeholders about the millionaire's tax, we agreed that we would just go ahead and make this change now.
So almost extending an olive branch here.
I would say it is definitely an olive branch, particularly in the sense that it is not dependent on the revenue coming in from the millionaire's tax.
And that bill continues to move forward with some of the same people threatening to leave the state. The estate tax sends funds to the Education Legacy Fund and higher education, and that also involves scholarships for college students. Now, as far as the millionaire's tax, there is a hearing right now on the Senate floor that has lasted more than 3 hours with senators debating the merits of that particular legislation. It is expected to move forward, though, in a vote later on this evening and then go to the House and the governor for further changes, with a legal challenge still looming in the distance. That's the story for now. Live in Seattle, I'm Chris Daniels, KOMO.
So let's break that out of political speak for a second. Democrats realize people are leaving the state and businesses are leaving the state and went, oh, we went too far. Well, we'll make up the money in the gajillionaire's tax or the income tax so we can roll back on this little business tax, right? I wonder why they've had this change of heart. Me? I'm going to credit Brian Haywood's testimony, which went viral just a couple weeks ago, when they first started discussing the millionaire's tax, which isn't a millionaire's tax. You remember what Brian Haywood, founder of Let's Go Washington, said at the time?
Like many in my position, I've got options. I can change my domicile, I can move my business, I can restructure my income to avoid it. That's the truth. And even this person that just testified has every option to do that. In fact, in just the past 2 weeks, I've heard from directly or listened or heard about over 50 couples who have already in the process of or soon to be changing their domicile out of this state, including one that you all have heard of, probably the loudest Democrat in Seattle named Nick Hanauer, who's changing his domicile. The people who truly get crushed, though, are Washington's 657,000 small business owners, farmers, contractors, doctors, tech founders who run pass-through companies. A great year, a big sale, or even a one-time payout pushes their personal income over $1 million, triggering a 10% hit they can't easily avoid.
Exactly. Exactly right. And what happens is when those people move, they take their companies with them. They give you the choice. You want to move to and still work for me, or you want to lose your job. But in addition to that, that means the local barber is going to have less customers. That means the local grocer is going to have less customers. That means the local mechanic's going to have less customers. So I want to hear from you. If they pass the income tax, are you staying and fighting? Are you stuck here? Or are you just saying, that's it, final straw, I'm out of here? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Shelly over on the text line, Shelly in Marysville says, I'm third generation in Seattle. Kids and grandkids are all here, so I'm not going anywhere. We'll stay and fight, fight, fight. Love your show, Ari. Thank you. Appreciate that. This one here, 360, I've lived here 48 years, my whole life, and I'm staying to fight for our beautiful state. Jeff and Kent, wife says, we're not leaving our grandchildren, so we're stuck here. This is another one from Ron, stuck here and fighting. This is what we're seeing on the text line, by the way, aside from all the people who go, I'm gone already. That's the other one we have here. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Adam in Sumner. Adam, what's up, man?
Man, where do I start? First of all, I was kind of thinking, do you think other states might come up with some kind of refugee program for Washington residents?
You know, you joke, Adam. You joke, but you know that Ron DeSantis wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal about how dumb Washington State would be to consider an income tax. And what was more fascinating about it was he said, look, I'm happy to welcome you here in Florida, but it's better that you don't do this. He's literally trying to talk them out of it and saying, don't do this. And we've always seen that whenever this stuff is done, it fails. If you talk about a refugee program, Florida is more money they could ever spend. I shouldn't say that in case the Democrats get in charge. You know, if they were running the Sahara Desert, they'd run out of sand. But yeah, that's exactly what Florida has going, right?
Well, I want to make a prediction here. I predict they want this to go up to higher courts. I think they want those courts to say, look, this isn't uniform. You have to apply it to everybody. And they're going to come back and go, well, guys, you heard them. We gotta tax everyone, not just the millionaires.
Yeah, that's exactly. No, of course they do, because we have sources on the inside that say they've already cleared this with the Washington State Supreme Court, that they already know this is going to go through. I think that's exactly what they want.
Well, I'll answer your question. I've been in Washington State all my life, and me and my wife have been talking about leaving for quite some time. And it seems like every time they do things like this, the pressure just keeps going up there. About the only thing really keeping us here, I would say, is elderly parents. We know that they need us. Otherwise, you know, we've really been talking about it.
Yeah, and I know that survey that says half of people have discussed it, I think it's probably more than that. I think it's probably a lot more than that. Adam, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more of your calls and more of your texts. But also, Nick Shirley's latest video about voting in California. Is the same scandalous behavior happening here in Washington? Methinks the answer is yes. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. just before we go see how terrible the rest of the West Coast is, these texts you guys are sending me are heartbreaking. They're really heartbreaking. And I commiserate, I sympathize with every single one of you, because for a lot of you, I'm in the exact same situation. I asked in our last segment, are you staying here and fighting? Are you staying here because you're stuck here? Or are you saying, no, I'm out of here because of the income tax? This one from the 206. Sadly, little is keeping us in Seattle as senior citizens, the proposed income tax, capital gains tax on stock we held for years for our retirement, inheritance tax, gasoline, carbon tax, etc., is forcing us to consider Idaho. Want to buy a home on Queen Anne Hill with a bay view, way better than your studio has? That's very good. I like that one. That's very, very good. This one here, my view from my house is pretty nice. Thank you, though. This one from the 425. Been here 35 years. Moved my parents out here to live with us. We absolutely love Washington, but there's no way we can afford to stay. Not sure where we will go as hot weather is out of the question. I can't believe what has happened to this glorious state. It's not just sad, but tragic. This one here from Charles in Auburn. Unfortunately, my wife and I are stuck here. My parents, both in their 80s, love the climate here, though they hate the politics of Seattle and Olympia, so they stay here until they pass. At that point, I'll be pushing for my family to move to Missouri, where I have a lot of family. My cousin and her husband bought a 4,000 square foot home on an 11-acre farm, able property for less than $300K. This one from the 206. This sounds like me. No income tax is why I came here. This one really sounds like me. Robert says, Ari, I was born in Queens, fled Brooklyn in 1997. Love no income tax, reasonable gun laws. My wife and I both hate King County. We would love to leave Washington. We can't because of the granddaughter. I love your New York, New Jersey rant. Hopefully we can discuss this on the 24th. Oh, that means Robert is coming to Stake of the Union. Yes. This one here, I lived here since 1958. I'm not in a position to move. Seems like the only option is not to pay, like my car tabs. And I think they'll get a little bit more aggressive than with the car tabs. Look what they're trying to do with the car tabs. Trying to throw you in jail or tow your car for the car tabs. This one, I've lived in Snohomish County my entire 71 years. Looked at moving, but I'm staying here to fight for freedom and liberty in spite of Turd Ferguson. Exactly right. I'm seeing more and more of this. Oh, here's one. Wyoming, here I come. Too far gone in this beautiful state. This one here from Tamara. Can't move yet, but that's my retirement plan in 3 years. Mike in Snohomish, leaving Western Washington for sure, most likely Idaho. Jeff in Tacoma, stuck here. Shows that this is a losing fight. Guys, you want to talk about it? You want to vent about it? I am here for you. Those of you who are leaving, remember to download the KVI app so you can listen to us and look back at Washington and the train wreck it becomes after you go. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Kevin in Fall City. Kevin, what's going on? Hello, Kevin.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm here. I saw the writing on the wall when they did the illegal tax on capital gains, and so did my wife. And so 2 years ago, we were already starting this process of started looking into Idaho real serious. We're heading to Idaho this weekend to look at property. And so, yeah, it's, a little bit ridiculous between all the politics. Let's ban as many guns as we possibly can. And all the wokeism, we're done.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. I mean, Jay Inslee said it too, didn't he? Doesn't he have a place in Idaho, or did he say that wasn't true? I think his team said it wasn't true, but I've heard rumors that he is actually there.
He moved to Boise.
Boise? I didn't hear Boise. I heard other places. But apparently somebody I know says they have his address. I'm not giving it out on air, but I kind of feel like taking a road trip just to be like, hey, look through the window. That's not creepy at all, right? See if Trudy comes out. See if Jay comes out and goes, hey, Jay, it's Ari Hoffman. Remember me? Remember me? Hey, Jay, how you doing? You think he'd like that or not?
Oh, I think it would be fun to do. Even though I don't believe in doxing, but yes, that would be fun to do.
Yeah.
But, we're looking at, my wife has had the property for 33 years, initially purchased the property, all wooded, 8+ acres for $100,000.
Yeah.
We've invested a lot of money into it, but still, if we don't sell before this thing kicks in, we look to, depending on how they've written this law, lose anywhere from $400,000 to $700,000.
Right. What happens? That's what happens. What happens when the market falls on the real estate? It's sky high right now. What happens when that market collapses? Kevin, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, here's the story I promised you about this. Nick Shirley. You know Nick Shirley? He's the guy who exposed all that fraud in Minnesota. Tell me if you think this is contributing to what's happening here in Washington. Nick Shirley put a new video out, 23 minutes long, showing all the voter problems in California. Millions of people vote with no ID, month-long election process, does any of this sound familiar? Inaccurate voter rolls, dead people caught voting, even a dog successfully registered to vote. Yeah, that woman actually is serving time in jail, I believe, or got sentenced to jail. I think she's appealing it. She's a Republican woman who wants to prove she could register her dogs to vote and registered her dogs to vote. Voter verification is all based on your signature, not who you actually are. He went to locations in California's public voter rolls for the Secretary of State, and not a single location could verify the voter rolls. Irregularities in voter numbers per location, 30-plus people registered in one mail store. Voters inaccurately aged at 125 years old. This is what you get without voter ID. This is what you get. Doesn't it sound like the exact same thing that's happening here in Washington State? Gee, why won't they turn over the voter rolls? You think maybe this has something to do with it? I highly, highly recommend you guys go check out Nick Shirley's latest video. I'll be sure to share it over on my social medias, Ari Hoffman Official, Facebook and Instagram, and the Hofffather over on Twitter. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your texts, plus a Republican lawmaker is in deep hot water because of a comment he made about Muslims, but I think people really didn't get the context of what he says. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, State of the Union is sold out. But if you don't want to miss out on future events, my friends, here's what I want you to do. I want you to head on over to KVI.com, sign up to become a KVI insider. Don't worry, we don't sell your data or spam you with emails, anything like that. We tell you about what's going on at KVI. So you will find out about the next event. And when you get that email, you don't leave it sitting in your inbox and say, I will register, I will register, I will register. You say, no, I'm going to register right now because so many people listen to the Ari Hoffman Show. I don't want to get sold out again. So head on over to KVI.com right now. Sign up to become a KVI insider. So that way you never miss a single event that we have. Also, good news for everybody. For those of you that are missing State of the Union, you get to listen to the show while we broadcast it. That's right. We're going to be live from 3 to 6 p.m. before the State of the Union address. And afterwards, we are going to have a very special stream with special guests. We will tell you all about it as soon as everything is finalized. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Josh in Federal Way. Josh, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, how's it going?
Good. What's up, man?
Good. So, I've lived in this state 48 years, my entire life. Wife, same boat. Born and raised, did everything right. We're married, small little child, have a house, but there is no way, and she's a teacher, and I work for a car dealership, but there is no way we can afford to stay in this state and retire when you normally should do that in your life. There's she's got her mother here who's alone, and then my mom's here. Those are the last two. And she won't leave the state while the family's still around. So we're here, but I don't know how much fight we've got left in us. It's really sad about how this state has gone downhill since the 80s. It just thrived, and it was just a beautiful state to live in. The people, the cities, absolutely gorgeous. It's got everything, the mountains, the desert, the ocean, and it's just gone so bad, so quick.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more left we've got in us.
Josh, you're not alone. I'll tell you, one of the reasons I go to conferences like Roanoke or Turning Point USA or any of this other kind of events I go to, whether they're locally or nationally, is sometimes I need a little bit more fight in me. People come up to me all the time and they say, Ari, we really appreciate what you do. Thank you so much. And that gives me a little strength also. But you know what helps sometimes, Josh? And I know you got a job, and I know you got parents, and I know you got kids, and I know you got the wife, and I know you got the dealership, and I know you got all this stuff.
Sure.
But when you can, go to some of these events because you realize there's more of us. And the problem is that us conservatives, us Republicans, even us moderates, we're busy working. We're not out on the streets protesting. Right? We have jobs. So it's kind of like that silent majority thing, right? But the problem is sometimes we're just like, oh, I'm fed up. What does it matter? I'm not going to vote anymore. I'm not going to be active anymore. So when you say you don't know how much fight is left in you, I totally hear that. But I will say this, Josh. We've just met right now over the phone, right? We don't know each other in person?
Right.
Okay. I know there's more fight in you because you're calling the show and saying you want to stay here for now. You don't want this place to get worse, right?
No, I would love to stay in this state. I would love to retire and grow old. Absolutely.
See, and I think, Josh, I'm not picking on you. I want to be clear. I'm not picking on you. I feel the exact same way, which is why I do this job every day, aside from the fact that I get a microphone and all these people have to listen to me. But the reason I really do this is because I want to fix things here. There's been a whole discussion recently. Am I a journalist? Am I a commentator? I'm more of an activist because I do this because I feel passionately about it. Do I do journalism? Yes. Do I do commenting? Yes. Do I do all those things? Absolutely. But by exposing this stuff is my fight. By going to these events, by headlining these events, by speaking at these events, by helping try to get people elected, I do it. So what I'm encouraging you to do, Josh, I don't know you very well. I just met you today. What is the way where you can level up just a notch? Does that mean going to an event? I'm not asking you to donate money because we don't have enough money anymore, especially after the income. But what is that one little extra notch? And I think if everybody does the extra notch, we might be in a little better position. Would you agree?
I agree. I agree. Yes. It's just
it's hard. I know.
It's tough.
It's
really,
believe
really
me,
tough to
Josh.
see the state go down.
I am right there with you, man. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
And the question is how the media and everybody doesn't respond or report on these taxes and the wording that they use for all of them, and how doesn't it affect anybody else in those roles where they can continue to just
You want to know how? Actually,
water for the Democratic Party.
This whole story with me, Brandy Cruz, and Jonathan Cho getting denied press access is exactly what's happening. They realize that together we have more audience than probably most of the TV stations in town. We really do. I'm very serious about that. We probably have a bigger audience than them, especially with our social media stuff. And they are freaking out because you never see the stories from the networks go viral. You see the stories from us go viral. They are freaking out about that, and they want to deny us access. That's not working. Look, Como News, you see that Chris Daniels is all of a sudden reporting on the fraud, all of a sudden reporting on the taxes. Where were they last year? Because they see that our stuff is getting traction and their stuff wasn't. Look, I love Como News, and I think they're the best news station in town for TV, but you see that they're doing a lot more of the stuff they would never touch before. So it seems like what this whole thing about the journalism fight is about is they are concerned of how much influence we are having now and how much people are turning to us away from mainstream media. Josh, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Howard in Woodinville. Howard, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. Hey, I'm with you and the other last few callers on this tax issue. I'm small business, 33 years doing this here. I'm not done, but I'm planning an exit. But as far as the state goes, I'm stuck here, and I'm torn in the middle because I'm a big hiker and outdoors. I love this state, but this is too much. I just wish there was some way to just. Where's the Republicans? Where are these people? Sorry, not sorry, but you folks that have ran off and left me and others like me, I don't like that. Sorry, not sorry to say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who feel the same way. There's a lot of people who feel that way. There really, really are. There's a lot of people who say that. And I'm right there with you, Howard. I mean, remember why I have this job. Aside from the fact that I didn't know this was a job opportunity, but, years ago, or I probably would have chosen a different career path. On my LinkedIn, the bio of who I am says the government destroyed my companies and now I do this. Because I wouldn't have been in this if not for the Democrats' bad policies. In fact, I think it was Todd Herman. Was it Todd Herman? I think it was Todd Herman who said the worst thing Jay Inslee ever did was put Ari Hoffman's companies out of business during COVID. Because then he got me full-time on air.
I hear you.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, Howard. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate you listening. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, a tragic death in Hollywood that kind of affected me personally, and one in the political world, which the reactions to it online are interesting. We'll discuss that, plus more of your calls and more of your texts when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my friends, to subscribe to our show on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute. That way you never miss an episode. You can also stream us at KVI.com. Download the KVI app. Well, yesterday I was at Universal Studios with my daughter for the day. And while I was there, the tour guides started rumbling among themselves. Robert Duvall, Robert Duvall, Robert Duvall, Robert Duvall. I'm like, oh my God, is he dead? And then I realized Robert Duvall ain't exactly a spring chicken anymore. I realized that years ago that Robert Duvall is one of my favorite actors. Is it because of the movies he's in, and he's been in some really iconic movies? No, it's because he looks like my grandfather. He looks like my grandfather, sounds like my grandfather. In fact, so much so that when my grandfather passed away, the movie The Judge had recently come out. And it's with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. And back then I had more hair. And people used to joke that my snark was a lot like Robert Downey Jr.'s in Iron Man. I got that a lot because of the hair and such. Not that we look that much alike. But I would watch The Judge when I missed my grandfather. I just love that movie. The other one I would watch from time to time that reminded me a lot of my grandfather is Secondhand Lions. And interestingly enough, was Days of Thunder. Why Days of Thunder? That was him. He was always talking about cars with me. One of my first cars was my grandfather's Camaro. He's the one who gave it to me. So whenever I missed my grandfather, I would watch a Robert Duvall movie because I was very, very close to my grandfather. And yeah, that's how it kind of felt like, well, he's continuing to live on, even though I know they never knew each other and they have not that much in common, but they looked alike. They sounded alike, and enough of the roles were enough alike that it made me feel a little bit better. So it was a little bit more personal for me when he passed away yesterday. He's been in so many iconic movies, so many. What's your favorite Robert Duvall movie? Apocalypse Now, To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, there's so many out there. Kevin's probably thinking to himself, what's your favorite one right now? You got an idea in your head. I see you thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's too many. I can't.
There is.
I was trying to think of the Kevin Costner cowboy one with him. And it's not Lonesome Dove, but it's because Lonesome Dove was the TV series or miniseries. I believe he was in that too. I haven't watched it in a long time. I just know my dad was a big fan of that. But he did one with Costner. I forget.
I don't remember which one.
Open Range or something like that?
It might be something. Somebody on the text line is going to remind us any second what the name of that one was.
Really enjoyed that one.
I know a lot of people are going, how come you didn't mention The Godfather? And I'll say it's like, I didn't think his role was that great in The Godfather. There's so many. Maybe it's just because there's so many iconic roles in The Godfather. You don't go, Robert Duvall in The Godfather.
Yeah, just not the biggest Godfather guy.
Well, there's that. He's not a wartime consigliere. That's the line, isn't it? Yeah. No, I don't think The Godfather or The Godfather Part 2 is as big. I know everybody's going, we demand an apology. There's so many other more iconic things for Robert Duvall.
And I love Apocalypse Now. I wouldn't say it's like that great of a movie. It's pretty out there, but his scene is the big what is it? I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
I love it. I use it all the time. Yeah, I love the smell of whatever it is in the morning. Whenever I walk into a room, we use that one all the time. But yeah, if you haven't seen the movie The Judge with him and Robert Downey Jr., I actually think it's my favorite one. And not just because of my personal connection. That happens to be my favorite Robert Duvall movie. And it was interesting watching everybody at Universal Studios, the staff. Because, the staff all thinks they make movies, even though they're tour guides or, at the gift shop or whatever it is. The staff was taking it kind of hard because everybody liked Robert Duvall. I don't even know what his politics were. I don't even care what his politics were. Just because he looked like my grandfather, because I loved his movies, because he reminded me of my grandfather, we'll miss Robert Duvall. There was another death yesterday, and I'm going to break my rule, which is we don't usually bash people on the day that they die, but I think this one, special exception for this one, and Jimmy Carter. That's the only other time we did this one before. Jesse Jackson passed away at the age of 84 yesterday. So the anti-Semitic race hustler died. Okay. Can anybody tell me what his claim to fame is, aside from being with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was assassinated? Is there anything else that this guy has accomplished? Really, what a race baiter. I have nothing good to say. I really don't. A lot of people just said, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. Well, yeah, I have nothing nice to say. However, I am going to quote the CBS obituary. So this is from CBS, not somebody in my little black book of the right-wing media. From the CBS obituary, Jackson is survived by 5 children with his wife of more than 60 years, Jacqueline, and another daughter. Whoa. Wait. Should I read that again just so everybody's clear on what they just said? Jackson is survived by 5 children with his wife of more than 60 years, Jacqueline, another daughter. His wife of more than 60 years stuck around with him after he cheated on her and fathered a child out of wedlock. Wow, this is really a great guy here. Wow, what a great guy. Fantastic. Jesse Jackson. Oh, him and Al Sharpton. When you saw the two of them during Katrina telling people not to get on the cruise ship so they wouldn't get their government funding. Ugh. Anytime there's a protest, needs to happen, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton just come a-running. Ugh, just makes me nauseous. I know a lot of you are saying, Ari, he died, give him a day. Sure, whatever. Sorry. You know, he lost the 1984 presidential primary because he was such a raging anti-Semite. Yeah, his comments about, what was it, Hymietown, I think is what he said? Yeah, that's what he called New York? Great. Thanks a lot, dude. That is literally why he lost the Democratic nomination to Walter Mondale in 1984. And then Ronald Reagan got elected. Well, so maybe we should be thanking him. Oh, that's one good thing he did in his life. That's right. Lost to Walter Mondale. So that way we could have Ronald Reagan. Yeah, I don't. It's hard for me to get upset about that one. Oh yeah, I see all the comments coming in here. This one here from Jay. I tried to watch The Godfather, but it was kind of boring. You know, people of our generation kind of feel that way. I know my email address is what it is, and I know what people call me. But at the same time, the first Godfather is a hard watch for our generation. It's not an easy movie to get through, and the third one's just not great. Open Range, Kevin. Open Range. That's the one they said. When we come back, my friends.
I was right.
You were right. It was Open Range. When we come back, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts, plus also Spokane wants to defund the police and give it to illegals. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also coming up this hour, Spokane defunded the police so that they could give the money to illegals. But before we get to any of that, a lot of you have a lot of strong reactions to our last segment. First of all, looks like Kevin was right. It was open range that everybody saw Kevin Costner and Robert Duvall in. And I have to admit, I've never seen it. Now I'm going to get yelled at on the text line. I just remember the ad or whatever it was. I remember it existed. I've never actually seen it, but now I got homework for tonight. Now I have to go home and watch it tonight.
I liked it. I haven't seen it in years, so sometimes it's of its time, and then when you revisit it, you're kind of like, but I remember it being a pretty solid movie.
I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a whole Western week. My wife's out of town. My wife is out of town this week. She's over in Israel visiting my son, so maybe it'll just be Westerns nonstop. I'll do a little Unforgiven.
Sure.
We'll check out a little Doc Holliday action. Right? Check out all this stuff. This will be great. This will be great. Watch all this week. Okay, so yes, we know, guys, it's open range. We know. We can see from the text line. Thank you all very much. A lot of you saying secondhand Lions, but then a lot of you are still chiming in on whether or not you're staying in Washington. This one here from Dave. My widow mother can barely afford her Snohomish Valley house. She only stays because she is the sole child of her 80-year-old parents. Once they are gone, she is moving in my direction to Yakima or likely further into Idaho. This one from Rob in Port Orchard. Conservatives need to come out of the closet in their daily life. I'm surprised every time I do. And the people who agree with me, the silent majority needs to speak out. I'm starting to. By the way, a lot of people who call this show use their fake names because they're worried about getting recognized at work or there are sources or whatever the case may be. And I would say for people who are not worried about losing their jobs, call. Give us your name. Give us your city. Tell us who you are because that will inspire more people. Like this one here, John in Lakewood talked about Josh in Federal Way who called earlier. He's literally citing him, ditto Josh in Federal Way. I'm retired, don't have much staying power, have participated, donated, campaigned, etc. to no avail. Washington Democrats will retain power by any means necessary. They choke you, but when you're about to pass out, lose their grip when you recover enough to resume their chokehold. Okay, guys, I think that actually you can push this to the next level and say, okay, what haven't we tried yet? You know why they were so afraid when Scott Pressler came here? Voter ID laws. They were petrified of the voter ID laws. Absolutely scared to death of it. Scared to death of it. Because they know that as soon as voter ID laws get passed, that's it. The game's over. The game is over. That's it. I'm talking with somebody online. We're looking at the Seattle election results. There's a few things that don't make sense about it. Look, I'm no Bruce Harrell fan. Anybody who listens to the show knows I am no fan of Bruce Harrell. And I said there was no difference between him and Katie Wilson. And look, by their homo strategy, there really isn't. No difference between them whatsoever. But there's some numbers that don't make a lot of sense in the Seattle election. And I'm kind of curious how that is. The math isn't mathing. That's something we're going to be checking out. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Paul in Tacoma. Paul, what's up, man?
Several things. First, I'm moving to Wisconsin, and I'm a bigger snow than the frickin' liberals. I fought the good fight for 45 years, and I'm out of here. Second of all, the Great Santina and Secondhand Lions, which is my favorite movie.
Yeah, I love Secondhand Lions.
When I retire.
Mm-hmm. Sorry?
I'm modeling that when I retire.
You just want to shoot salesmen that come to your front lawn? Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly it. I'm going to have stay off my property, and I have my porch and my M16 or Air-15, and we'll
you want to buy an airplane. You want to buy a biplane. That's what you mean. That's how you want to go. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Well, not quite that way.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, it is an absolutely great movie. I'll ask you this. Why Wisconsin?
Partly it's relatives, and partly it's the economy. I mean, I could sell my house here and buy a nice little cabin on the lake without worrying about the mortgage.
Yeah,
And
that's what
my brother called me up, and he's paying, was it $35 a gallon?
Mm-hmm.
And what we're paying, $4 a gallon.
You know, you're going to kind of laugh and cry at the same time about this. My daughter, when we were in California this week, because, you know, she hears what we say around the house. She goes, oh, I bet the gas prices are going to be cheaper than in Washington because we're so high, right? And I go, no, sweetie. California's are even higher than ours. California and Hawaii are higher than ours. When I was in California, $5.49 a gallon. $5.49 a gallon. So as bad as we have it here, $5.49 a gallon in California. Paul, make sure you download the KVI app so you can listen to the train wreck that you're leaving behind, okay?
You bet, I will.
All right. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We'll go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Stilgar in Renton. Stilgar, what's going on?
Well, it's actually Mrs. Stilgar.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Stilgar. What's up?
Well, the Robert Duvall movies, Secondhand Lions is a favorite, but Robert Duvall was in a movie called Something to Talk About with Dennis Quaid, Julia Roberts, Jenna Rowland, and, the woman who was Kara Sedgwick.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie. It is a rom-com, so it's not everybody's cup of tea, but there are some really funny lines in that movie, and so maybe you might want to watch it with your wife.
Okay, we'll add that one to the list. I remember the commercials for it because I was younger because they had the song running behind it. I don't think I actually saw the movie. Actually, we got somebody over here who said phenomenon. They like Robert Duvall's monologue with John Travolta. I remember not liking that weird movie, but other people may have enjoyed it.
Well, that was my 2 cents worth. Have a great day.
I appreciate it, Mrs. Stilgar. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Don in Fox Island. Don, what's going on?
Well, hey, Ari, I just have a question for you. With all the talk about voter ID, I'm wondering how that is going to impact the fraud that we see with mail-in voting, because my mother-in-law says she noticed that ever since there was mail-in voting, it's been difficult to elect a Republican in both Washington and Oregon states.
Yeah, I would agree. And here's something. Okay, so I rented from Budget Rent-A-Car this weekend. This is about to be clear in a second why I'm telling you this story. I never rent from Budget, but I did the trip so last minute. Hertz was out of cars. Why do I rent from Hertz? I get tons of discounts, and I got President Circle ages ago. So I never rent from anybody else, but they were out of cars. So I go to Budget. Budget's app wasn't working right. Why? Because it couldn't verify my ID. And it even uses like the Clear system and all these other systems to verify your ID, and it wouldn't work. And it wasn't working for anybody in line. So you had this massive line of people who were trying to get their rental cars. But guess what? No ID, couldn't get your cars. So you need the ID for the car, but not to vote. You need the ID to buy a gun, but not to vote. You need the ID for all these things. You need the ID to buy alcohol, but not to vote.
Right.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen here is it's going to be a huge impact. I think you're going to see a ton of lawsuits, by the way. It's going to have a huge impact on the mail-in system. And I'll tell you something else. There is a way to do this with the mail-in system if you still want to keep the mail-in system. It's just, as I talked about, my son was able to register, and he's a student in Israel. While he was a student in Israel, he was able to register to vote without producing any form of ID whatsoever, which is insane. Don't you think, Don?
Yeah, I would agree with that. So do you think having a requirement for voter ID would clean up the mail-in voting system?
Well, I think there's two things. If you say, okay, from now on, we're going to have a voter ID system, but you grandfather everybody in beforehand, you still have the same problems. You have to deal with those problems. You can't just say, okay, from now on, we're good. That's not going to work. The problem is, and this goes back to Bill Clinton being in office, there are laws on the books that we can't clean up the voter rolls. That's a huge problem, and the Democrats keep pointing to those. Yeah. Bill Clinton did this years and years ago, so people wouldn't get kicked off voter rolls. There are actually things about kicking people off voter rolls that are federal. As much as everybody loves the SAVE Act, I got to double check if it actually undoes some of the Bill Clinton stuff.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what would be the motivation of the Democrats to not want voter ID yet.
There you go. And as we say, there's the rub, right, Don?
I wonder. Yeah.
Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Brian in Puyallup. Brian, what's going on, man?
It's actually Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. Sorry. Yeah, what's up, man?
Just calling in regards as far as leaving the state with this income tax. Been born and raised here in Washington State my whole life. My great-grandfather, Victor A. Myers Sr. was the 11th Lieutenant Governor of Washington State, and his son, my grandpa, was in the state legislature. I can't quite exactly quote when he was in legislature, but I strongly believe my family would be really pissed at the Democrat Party today.
You're not the first one to tell me this, Ryan. I know a lot of people in politics, and I've met more and more and more because of the job I'm in now. The amount of them that had relatives who served in office, were in office, who were Democrats, who now say their relatives would not recognize this party, it's off the charts how many of them have told me this.
Yeah, it's just crazy. This beautiful state, a lot of family history here. My grandmother, her cousin was Max Baer, prize fighter back in the 20s and 30s. It's just a beautiful state. But my other granddad on my mom's side, he was born and raised in Wyoming, and I feel it's coming to it to where I have to move on to Wyoming possibly, but I'd like to stay and fight. But
right, what kills me,
it's an uphill battle.
I used to go to New York to recruit people to move to Seattle. I used to actually do that once a year for this big convention there is to recruit people to move for the Jewish community. I would do that regularly, and we haven't gone in years. Ryan, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Sounds like we got Mr. Stilgar on the phone this time instead of Mrs. Stilgar. Mr. Stilgar, what's going on, man?
Yes. I had to call in now. So as much as was never a fan of Jesse Jackson, one thing he did do that was hilarious and not taking himself too seriously was when he read Green Eggs and Ham on Saturday Night Live, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that clip.
And I thought that was pretty cool. And we're looking at Missouri for several reasons. One, if you live outside of the cities, the zoning is like non-existent. It's like, oh, build a house? Yeah, build a house. How big? I don't care. Just build it. Like, okay, great.
It reminds me of that scene in Parks and Rec when Ron Swanson has asked for his building permit and he hands the guy the piece of paper and it just says on it, I can do what I want. I'm American or whatever it is. that's the kind of building permit I want. I can do what I want. Stilgar, we sorry to lose you. Make sure you download that KVI app though, okay?
Yeah, well, it's a ways out. We got a lot of things holding us here.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. Appreciate the call, man. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Mike in University Place. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Ari? Just may have a movie that you haven't mentioned. I've been in and out listening. How about THX 1138?
Oh, that's a deep cut. Yes, that's a deep one. Good call, Mike.
Yeah, I think, and who was that answered the phone? He reminded me that was Spielberg's first movie, too.
What? Was it Lucas's first movie? Was it Lucas's first movie? Lucas's first. Right. That's why they call it that's why the sound thing is called THX. Most people just go, oh, THX, that must stand for some sound thing. No, it's because of the movie. Yeah, deep cut there. Actually got this other one here. This one actually from the 253. I absolutely love Robert Duvall in all of his movies, but I have a strange affliction. I think you mean affinity for Assassination Tango. He's a mob assassin, goes down to Argentina. Yeah, I haven't seen that one either. You guys are giving me a lot of homework tonight. Mike, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. One here says gone in 60 seconds. All right. I mean, he's good in that, but he's barely in it. I like Gone in 60 Seconds, but not for that reason. The car chase at the end is a cool one. I actually watched it not too long ago, Gone in 60 Seconds. It's okay. It's fine. It's not great. In terms of the Nicolas Cage movies of the 90s, The Rock, I think Con Air is a lot more fun. Gone in 60 Seconds, it's fine. I wonder what it would have been like. I haven't seen the director's cut. That they had to edit that movie so much because it actually showed you how to steal a car too realistically. They had to cut some scenes out of it. I kind of want to see that version of the movie.
I saw that movie one time way back when. Yeah. And I couldn't tell you anything about it. Like, that's not stored in the memory banks.
That's not there?
It's not there.
It's there with all my 90s action movies. It's there. Yeah. I've seen it a bunch of times, but as you guys say, it's fine, right?
I was too much of a movie snob back in the day there when I was going to be a director. I went to film school, and so I was on to like all the indie movies, the Tarantino stuff at that point, and I could not be bothered with these terrible popcorn movies. Turns out now when I watch them many, many years later, I'm like, those are kind of fun.
They're kind of, see, I had a different approach to this because, of course, I was a stage actor. So that meant I was going to be huge in Hollywood, right?
I was going to be a director and you were going to be an actor.
That's exactly what it was, right? And my thinking was, well, somebody needs to make this crap. that was my, and I go, I don't care that's not art. It's fun.
Yeah.
Shakespeare's not fun. And people who say Shakespeare is fun, you are all full of it. You are all liars. The last time Shakespeare was actually fun, we called it West Side Story. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we called it Shakespeare in Love, which was fun-ish. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Paul in Bonnie Lake. Paul, what's up, man?
Harry, thank you for taking my call. We've been talking about Jesse Jackson for the last couple of days. Do you remember the Bakke decision?
No.
Alan Bakke was a NASA engineer. He was white. He wanted to go to medical school. He applied to UC Berkeley, okay? 4 or 5 blacks who had lower test scores were admitted in front of him. He was not admitted. He went to the Supreme Court. This is in 76, and the Supreme Court said, I think it was 9-0, you can't do that.
Fascinating.
That's racism.
I love everybody giving me homework tonight. I got movie homework. I got political homework to do tonight. Paul, thank you for that.
Look at the Bakke. You're welcome. Look at the Bakke decision. I was in school when this happened, and this, that's why I say I grew up to the 60s and 70s. But look at the Bakke decision. Jesse Jackson. Oh, that was racist. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, that was terrible. Jesse Jackson's nothing but is a race hustler and a racist.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that statement. Appreciate the call, Paul. Appreciate the information. You want to be part of the show? You give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including how the mayor of Spokane is defunding the police and giving it to illegal aliens. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to everybody, yes, Stake of the Union is sold out, but sign up to become a KVI Insider. That way you don't miss the next event, and you get to sign up in time to join us, see me in person. Plus, we will be live streaming my commentary after Stake of the Union with some special guests, and you can listen to the show before State of the Union address by President Trump for all my analysis leading up to it. We're going to be, of course, having the show, as always, from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI, and the stream will be on my social medias and KVI social medias after the speech itself. Now, here's a story I've been promising for a while, but I want to make sure we get to it. Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown on Monday proposed redirecting $100,000 from Spokane Police Department's public outreach budget to fund assistance programs for immigrants and refugee families when a member is arrested, detained, or deported by federal immigration agencies. So basically, you're defunding the police and you're giving it to illegal aliens? Yeah, some people are yelling at me online, that's not what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. The funding would go to the Spokane Immigrants' Rights Coalition, a network of nearly a dozen local leftist immigrant and refugee organizations, through the coalition's Community Justice Fund, which provides financial help to immigrants and refugees through these member groups. You know what they give them, by the way? Rental, food, legal assistance. What do you need legal assistance for if you are not here, if you are here in the country legally? What do you need the legal assistance for? Brown said the proposal comes after city leaders met with local immigrant and refugee residents to hear firsthand about uncertainty many are experiencing. Hey, you know what? There's a whole bunch of anti-Semitism out there. Can we get some money? No, don't defund the police. We want to make sure we have the police. Look what happened in Seattle. You know the amount of money we spend on security guards because you guys defunded the police? She claimed federal immigration policies under the Trump administration were a driver of family separation, economic disruption. So wait a minute. The only reason your family would get separated is if somebody in that family is an illegal alien criminal. So what you're telling me is it's not just going to any immigrant or any refugee. It's going to the families of the illegal alien criminals who were deported already? Is that what we're talking about? Just making sure. Advocates say the proposal could fund basics like housing costs when a household's income or caregiving structure is disrupted by a member being deported, arrested, or detained by ICE. Why would they be arrested, deported, or detained by ICE if they were here legally? Just putting that one out there for a second. Crazy stuff. You think that's crazy? This one's even more insane. This one comes from the Justice Department, by the way. A Mexico-based leader accused of running a violent cartel-connected drug trafficking organization tied to methamphetamine smuggled in candle wax has been arraigned in U.S. District Court in Seattle. Okay, let's be clear about this for a second. The meth was in the candles. You think what they were doing in James Bond License to Kill was cool, where they're putting it in the oil? No, my friends. It's like Yankee Candle, only everything's got meth in it. Yeah. Okay, federal prosecutors announced that Jose Luis Sanchez Valencia appeared in court on Thursday after being transferred from Mexico to the U.S. last month. The Mexican national faces a 4-count federal indictment returned in 2022, charging him with conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, 3 counts of illegal use of a communication facility. He pleaded not guilty, and the trial is now set for April. Apparently what these guys were doing was melting the meth into the candle wax and then trafficking it to the Puget Sound. Also, apparently people were getting shot, and it was a whole drug running operation. I mean, a whole cartel operation going on here. Crazy, crazy stuff. That wasn't the only one, my friends. There's a whole lot more going on here. I mean, it is just indictment after indictment, sentencing on all these cartels. Gee, what do you think changed in the past couple of years that now these cases are happening? Yep, you could say it. It's fine. You could say it. But meanwhile, the Seattle Times, by the way, had an article that just made my head explode today. I still get their emails. I'm not actually subscribing to it. They just send me their emails because you never get off their email list. Here we go. Talking to your kids about ICE activity? Experts share 6 tips. Would you like to know how I talk to my kids? Don't break the law and you won't go to jail. Law enforcement officers put their lives at risk every day to keep us safe and deserve our thanks and support. Or here's a better one for you. Your ancestors came to this country legally, worked hard for what we have. Those who came here as refugees were thankful for the opportunities given to them by America and love this country. Many of them fought to defend it, and some even risked their lives to do so. That is how I talk to my kids about ICE. It seems like the Seattle Times has some other opinions about how you should talk to your kids. They make it sound like the Holocaust is happening. They make it sound like you need to go talk to your kids in the other room about reading Diary of Anne Frank or reading Elie Wiesel's Night to your kids. That's what they're making it sound like here. No, you say, if you break the law, you do the time. That's the conversation I have with my kids. Somebody said to me once, they were trying to accuse me of being racist. Ari, you don't understand the conversations we have to have with my kids about what happens when they get pulled over because their skin doesn't look like yours. And I told them what I tell my kids. I go, if you run from the police, regardless of what your skin color is, bad things are going to happen. Follow the instructions of the police officers. That's what you do. If you get pulled over, listen to the police. If you are in big trouble, I will come get you. The rule I have with my kids is if you're in trouble, you call me. We'll deal with it the next morning. You call me that night. We'll take care of business. Okay? You follow the directions when you get pulled over. It's not that hard. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from our frenemy, Bennett the Protester. Bennett, I saw you sent me some stuff on social media, but I had a rough flight last night. I'll look at it tonight.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, have you heard who's going to war against the candle meth smuggling cartel?
Who's that?
John Wick.
Oh, okay, Bennett. I'll let you have that one. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. What's on your mind today?
Well, you know, I was just thinking, can I pull a still guard and get married, and then we get 2 calls per household where it's just me and then...
Well, hang on a second. Hang on. You have to know something about the Stilgars, okay? Mrs. Stilgar calls on her own from time to time, so that's why they get to do that kind of thing. You can't just pass off the phone to somebody else. But if there is a Mrs. Bennett out there, I really want to meet the Mrs. Bennett. I really, really do.
Nope, still available. So your female listener's overwhelming impression of me is somebody who argues with you about everything and makes terrible puns. So, ladies, if that gets you excited, send a headshot to ari@kvi.com.
Oh, Bennett, you're killing it today. You're killing it today. This is why we love having you on the show. What's on your mind today, man?
All right. Well, I know you've been talking about the press pass thing. Now, do you think what factors into it is maybe, I bust your chops a lot about stuff you say on the show that I think is wrong. But do you think the sheer amount of questionable or misinformation, remember you claimed George Soros said that rounding up Jews was one of the greatest thrills of his young life.
Yes.
You're supposed to have homework to go find a
I'll do that tonight also. Hang on a second.
You're saying today all these people giving me homework.
Hang on 1 second.
Not have a track record
1 second, Bennett.
In.
1 second, Bennett. It would be one thing if the legislature said that's why we were denied press passes, the misinformation. It would be one thing if they said we were denied press passes because we're not journalists. That's not what they're saying. Have you read what they actually said? Because neither one, that's the conversation online. That is not what they actually said. Have you read what they actually said was the reason they were denying our press passes?
No, I saw what you copied and pasted. You posted it on X. They're saying that it's because your commentators are expressing opinions. I'm saying that whether they stated that or not.
It's not that either. It's not that either. Let's drill down. Bennett, okay? Because you go look at this. This is what the fight is about. The conversation online, and I know you're a higher level thinker than this, right? The conversation is that we advocated for certain positions this year. That's what you drill down on it. That's what they say. So the problem with that is half the media came in to advocate for a tax on big tech the day after I lost my press pass. So if you're going to say it's about advocating for an issue that year, because the argument they tried to make was that, well, if you ran for office before, but that was a year ago, it renews for this year where now you're back to being an objective reporter. That's the weird argument they're making. They're not making any of the arguments that you just listed, just the one about advocacy this year.
But do you think that this information thing might factor into it even if they don't admit it? Because I'm telling you, I'm sure that no one at the Seattle Times has ever written anything as inflammatory as claiming that George Soros said that rounding up Jews was
How about this one? How about falsely accusing me? How about falsely accusing me of towing an RV to a council member's house? That article had 30 corrections in it.
Okay, I haven't dug into that one.
I'm going to tell you, that one had like a gajillion corrections, and I was offline the whole time. The original version of that article was bordering on anti-Semitism and completely fake news. We have busted the Seattle Times so many times for getting it wrong and issuing corrections, and you know what? Every news outlet makes mistakes. The Seattle Times, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the New York Post. Everybody has a Fox News.
The Ari Hoffman Show.
Well, that's why I have you, Bennett. You're my correction section. That's what you can call me and criticize me anytime, and we don't cut you off. In fact, we let you call back every day when you think you're right to criticize me about something. The New York Times doesn't do that. They have a little box buried on page 25 or whatever it is about what they think the correction is.
Well, here on the Ari Hoffman Show, we like our facts like we like our Daniel's broiler steak. Rare.
Oh, don't. Okay, that's good. All right, today you're on fire, Bennett. Today we will keep you around. I do like that. Right before I hang up on you, I appreciate the call. And remember, if you want to date Bennett, you can send us your headshots so that Bennett can date you to arikvi.com. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the humor today. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Mike in Port Orchard. Mike, what's going on?
Hi, Ari. My favorite Duvall movie is Apocalypse Now. My dad was a Vietnam veteran, Bronze Star holder, and didn't talk about the war until after that movie came out. And after we watched it together, we sat down and with his little box of things, including a part of a mortar shell that came out of his hooch, and he talked about the things in the movie that they got right and the things that they movie that they're just like pure fantasy. But until that point, when he came back, he was different. And then he went to Greenland for a year because he basically felt he couldn't be home.
Wow.
And after that, he came back. And so it's my favorite Duvall movie, just above Secondhand Lines. And by the way, the best Shakespeare movie is Renaissance Man with Gregory Hines and Danny DeVito.
You guys are giving me so much homework tonight. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through it all this week. I guess this is what the weekend is for, right? See, I need another flight coming up so I can binge watch all these movies.
Yeah, but Renaissance Man is the best Shakespeare movie.
I'll give you two little Apocalypse Now trivias for a second, right before we let you go. Then I got to go to the break, okay? Number one, have you seen Hot Shots?
Yes.
You know the scene with Martin Sheen and all the guys on the boat going past Charlie Sheen?
Mm-hmm.
Martin Sheen was paid by Charlie Sheen because he wouldn't do the movie as just a cameo. So Charlie Sheen covered the cost of him and all the guys on the boat going past him in the movie for the joke. That's number one. Number two, in Rob Lowe's biography, which I actually found fascinating, he was friends with the Sheens, and apparently Martin Sheen got so messed up originally from Apocalypse Now that the first way he met him was he came to the Sheens' house to hang out with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen, and Martin Sheen jumped out of the bushes like to try and terrify him because he was dealing with the movie and stuff. That's how he met Martin Sheen.
Oh, my God.
Check it out. It's in the book. Yeah, it's in the book.
All right.
Appreciate the call, Mike. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, students are pretending to be lefties to survive socially in college. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. there's a question I get asked all the time, and a lot of people who have jobs like mine get asked this question all the time, and everybody answers it differently. It is, if I go to school and I have a leftist professor, what should I do? And what some people will tell you is write the socialist commie paper and get the A, and then use the degree for whatever. Some people will say, no, fight the man, damn the man, save the empire. That's what they'll do, right? And I say option number 3. I go, when you're choosing where to go to college, are you choosing a place because you think you have to go to college? Or are you choosing a place because you think you actually want the major that's at that college? Is it you just want to go with your friends? Or is it, hey, maybe if I go to trade school, maybe if I go somewhere else, I won't have these problems. Maybe I shouldn't be going to college. And I say this as a kid who never should have gone to college. I should not have gone to college. I'm telling you that right now. I should not have gone to college, my friends. That is not for me, okay? I was not a particularly good student, but that's what you did as a Jewish kid. You go to college and, you know, make your parents proud or whatever. I did not finish college. I did not finish college. It was a waste for me. And I would have been way better off going into some kind of trade school, real estate school, something like that. I mean, look, I went to business school, so did it help me with the product life cycle and marketing? Absolutely. But overall, it was a waste. I met my wife there, so not a total waste. That was the good thing I got out of college. My wife. That's right.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it like that sometimes. I went to the University of Washington for an Outlook course, right? So it was just a year long. It was for film and video production. So it wasn't even, it was barely even a real thing.
Yeah.
Right? I got my certificate, but through that, I met somebody who introduced me to radio, and here I am.
There you go.
So I would not have gotten into this business had I stayed up in Little Lake Stevens working at the warehouses I was doing up there. So getting out sometimes and just amongst other people, like-minded people, things like that, you never know what's going to happen. You met your wife that way.
I wouldn't have been here if I hadn't met my wife.
See?
That's exactly right.
And that's where, if you purely think about college as in, you know, you must go there because society says so, and that's how you're going to be a successful person in life, that's probably not a great idea. That's probably, you know, you shouldn't be going for those reasons. But if you're going, like you said, for something that you're really interested in, you're obviously going to meet professors that don't think the way you do. That doesn't mean that, like, you're an adult at this point. You can make your own decisions when you're that age. And so whether they influence you one way or another, I guess it depends on how strong-willed you are, right?
There's that as well. But, so, I mean, the thing I've seen is it really depends. It comes down to the kid. You know, we've had this discussion offline before. You know, hey, I went to public school, I turned out fine, or I went to private school, I turned out this way, or whatever the case may be. Some kids are just not that strong-willed for anybody. So whatever environment you put them in the most conservative environment, they're going to go that way. You put them in the most liberal environment, they're going to go that way. I think the problem is when you have teachers that decide it's their job to impose this stuff. People listen to our show because they want to hear my opinions or they want to yell at me about my opinions. In fact, actually, this is kind of funny. Over on the text line, it says right here, more proof even leftists like Bennett won't date blue-haired leftists that he comes on the Ari Hoffman show to look for a date. Okay, let's be nice to Bennett, but it does say you'll meet a more normal person. You know, maybe we should have love lines. Maybe we should bring back love lines on the Ari We'll have that. Right, we'll have the Hoffman matchmaking course. We'll do that. But why do I bring up the college thing? It says right here, 88% of college students pretend to hold progressive views in order to be socially and academically accepted. This is a new study from Psychform, conducted in confidential interviews with 1,452 undergraduate students between 2023 and 2025 at Northwestern University and University of Michigan. Okay, well, maybe that's just Michigan. I kind of wonder what the rest of the country looks like. I'm actually going to reach out to these guys. I want the data on the study. I want the data on the survey. I want to see more of what it says. Only good news to wrap up the show. When we come back, my friends, your good news headlines put a smile on your face. Heading into your evening commute, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And like I was saying earlier in the show, I took my daughter to Universal Studios. We did a 24-hour real quick trip down to Los Angeles. I cashed in some miles. She had the day off from school. I had the day off from KVI. And I realized my boys, I was self-employed when my boys were still home, and I used to take them on random trips all the time. Around here, I work for Mr. KVI, so I get certain days off. So I say, I'm just kidding. I'm just busting your chops. They're very nice about that, especially when it comes to the Jewish holidays. But when I had the day off yesterday, I said, let's go to Universal Studios. I also said, okay, it's my daughter, and we've never really done this kind of stuff together. I'm going to go all for it. So I bought the VIP passes, the VIP tour passes, thinking it's going to be more like the Universal Studios tour that used to get before they had all the rides. It's not. Don't spend the money on that. Just buy the Fast Pass. Save your money. But I will say is that while we were there on the VIP tour, they took us to something interesting. I'm getting there. There's a whole angle to this. They took us to the prop house, and the prop house is massive. We just got to see the furniture level. And they took us over to one section, which I found pretty entertaining. You're not allowed to take pictures, otherwise I would post them on social media. They took us over to the president section. So in the president section, it's really funny what they have set up there. A Resolute desk, a podium for the president that has the presidential seal on it, but it's a little bit of a knockoff because you can't use the actual presidential seal. And it's got a bigger podium for a bigger shot. And they said something that cracked me up because they said if you have a low-budget movie, you just need like a backdrop or a blue screen behind the guy. You put the Resolute desk there, you think you're in the White House. Or if you have a lower budget, you just put him at the podium and you have him give a speech. And the guy said, like in all those 90s movies, when they go to the president and he's talking about blowing up the asteroid or whatever else it is, he's just at the podium. That means they didn't want to drop the money on the full set. Now, Universal does not have the White House set. There is one approved set in Hollywood for the White House. You know who has it? Warner Brothers. It's the one they used in the West Wing. And they actually used it in The American President before that. And they used it in Dave. It was actually built for Dave before that. Rob Reiner says actually when he went to make The American President, he said it was the White House set is nicer than the White House itself. He was shocked how drab the White House actually was, and they wanted to clean it up more. But this is a set that's approved by the Secret Service. So, for example, if you're a fan of The West Wing and you also like Olympus Has Fallen, you will recognize the rooms. It's the same White House from The West Wing as Olympus Has Fallen. That one room that looks like it has the Millennium Falcon window that you see President Bartlet and his wife at all the time, where then you see, Butler killing people, killing terrorists with his knife right in front of it. Same window. I just thought that was interesting when I went down to Universal Studios. Also, when we were there, we didn't get to see Courthouse Square, which I was a little bummed out about. The whole Back to the Future thing. They were filming something there, and they couldn't tell us what it was. So I don't know what was going on there. But anyway, it was fun to be back at Universal Studios. I do love Universal Studios. Lots of fun. You look like you got something on your mind there.
Yeah, I was just wondering. So it was the actual prop house? So that's pretty cool that you actually get to see part, because I didn't know
very cool
if they still offered that sort of kind of look behind the scenes anymore.
That is the only thing that was different from the regular tram tour.
Okay.
Meaning I was expecting like the 4-hour tram tour, which we got when we were kids before they had all the rides.
Yeah.
And they put you in the movies and all. And no, none of that. It was the prop house, cool. Aside from that, it's all about the food they offer, and I can't eat any of the food.
Yeah.
I mean, the food's fine, but I mean, it looks like it's great. It looks amazing. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But that was the only thing that was different from the actual tour. Oh, by the way, Fast and Furious gone from the studio tour because they're opening the roller coaster. So that whole virtual reality thing, gone, not there anymore.
So what was in place of that, or is they just don't take you through there?
They're putting something else in there for the tram tour or whatever else.
Because if I remember correctly, that was originally the Earthquake.
No, Earthquake's still there. Earthquake is still there. Fast and Furious, I think they built out of a soundstage or something.
No,
Kong, the new virtual reality Kong replaced the Robo King Kong from when we were kids.
Right.
Earthquake, I think, replaced Battlestar Galactica from when we were kids. Yeah, you used to get kidnapped by the Cylons.
Yeah, I just swear when I was in there for the last Fast and Furious, it was in. They changed one of the buildings for that.
I'm not saying they didn't. It was something beforehand.
Yeah.
Like Kong, for example, that collapsible bridge is behind it, but they don't take you on that anymore.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not there. They don't take you through the Moses parting the Red Sea anymore. They don't do that. But this was kind of funny. The lady who's running my tour, she's worked there for a long, long time. Really sweet lady. Did a really good job. And she said, you sound like you know a lot about this tour. How long have you been coming here for? I'm like, well, since I was 6. And she's like, that must be a really long time ago. I'm like, wow, thanks so much. But She says, what are some of your earliest memories? I said, I remember sitting in Kit, the car from Knight Rider, and talking to Kit. You know what she told me? She goes, my husband used to do the voice for the studio tour.
Oh, funny.
He was the guy sitting in the car who did the voice. He could do a good impression of Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World, who was the voice of Knight Rider. That's right.
funny.
Same guy. Yeah.
I just remember when I went when I was like 15, that was like pretty old. I was like, why is this? Do people still remember this? I thought that at like 15, and it was like the show was on like 7 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, people still. She says that she gets asked at least once a tour by somebody if they're going to turn the Simpsons ride back into Back to the Future. She says she gets asked that at least once a tour, which I think is kind of funny. Yes, people have the memories they remember from Universal Studios, but it was nice to go down there. Haven't been there in quite a long time, even with the pouring rain and everything else. Well, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for us today. But fear not, because we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, plus more good news. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.